Greetings and welcome to Austin, Texas Gardening. My name's Matthew Wattrich, and today I'm going to be walking around my backyard showcasing the many peach trees and plants that are in containers in my raised bed here in Central Texas. It is a nice, cloudy afternoon, Sunday, March 23rd, with some diffused lighting. So let's walk around here and see what we've got. We got a little bit of a thunderstorm rolling in this afternoon, which is perfect. Some nice diffused lighting, and we'll be laying down some seeds in the raised bed today, so that'll help water them in. I think that this spring garden tour will be a really great opportunity to take a look back at a couple of different things. Some of the peach trees that I've been growing here in my backyard for about 3 years, and I even have a couple of pineapples in containers that have recently fruited. In addition, I thought I might, many of these topics deserve a dedicated video, but this is my French drain, which I installed about 3 years ago now, and it has done wonderfully and really benefited my peach trees, especially these two that are right next to the drain. I think that I've got a whole bunch of footage here, and I can show 2-3 years ago what a lot of this looked like. These two trees here have done really great. They are both Tex Prince peach trees, and the yield was so significant last year on both of these trees that I wound up having quite a few cracked branches. Back in February, these trees bloomed and looked really wonderful. On this one here, you can see the cracking that I was just referring to on this main branch here from all the weight that was on these upper branches from the peaches last year. It's not easy to see the peaches at a glance, but a lot of the fruit that was pollinated has already caused a few little baby peaches to start popping out here, and I'm thinking that we're going to get a nice crop of peaches sometime in May. I'm probably going to have to thin a few from these trees because in the past, as I mentioned, it's a little bit too much on them. This year I decided to fertilize, and I'm not the only one fertilizing. We also have some wildlife that runs around in the backyard and helps get nitrogen and all sorts of different things that trees need on these trees. And so every time I show off these peach trees, I like to show some of the progress that they've made. Once again, this deserves a dedicated video, and I'm probably going to make that at some point in the near future. But for the time being, I just wanted to go around, show where we're at today. This other Tex Prince is looking a bit more healthier, but this one here looks great too. We have a lot of green new growth popping up from this redwood here, and whole bunch of peaches here. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 just in that little cluster right there. Not as much leaves on this canopy, which I'm wondering if that might be a problem of having a little bit too much nitrogen. I've noticed that pretty much every single branch on this tree and even a few other spots are shooting off a ton of green new growth, which is awesome. I think over the life of the tree, it's gonna really help this one to widen up and get a lot more space for fruit. But for the time being, I'm wondering if maybe we could put down a little more potassium-rich fertilizer on this one, as this kind of canopy is what I'm really looking for, where it's balanced, there's a lot of fruit in there, and also this one just had a bit of a head start. That might be part of the issue, that this one here started putting off leaves in January, and that one in the back probably mid-February. That being said, it's been about a month since this one put off its leaves. I'm thinking that at this point, I'm going to make a couple additional videos throughout the spring, just showing the progress these trees are making. And of course, we'll do a harvest video in June or July. Last year, we got nearly 20 pieces of fruit from each one of these trees. A lot of pests and different things get to these peach trees. We have wasps in Central Texas, and then of course gnats and birds are a bit of a problem. Right now my scarecrows are these two owls, and they're hanging out in the raised bed, which we're going to come back to the raised bed, but I like to put these owls up on a little perch where they can scare away any predators who might want to snack on my fruit. The peach tree over here in this corner that's doing the best is a Royal Zest 2 peach tree. And I have to really stand back now. We're closing in on 8 feet with this tree, and it is looking magnificent. I'm really worried about branch breakage this year, as The canopy looks a little thinner, but once again, this one must have put out its first shoots in mid-February, and we got a ton of new growth and really a lot of fruit on this tree. It's not easy to spot it all because it's so young, but got several pieces up here and just some really long, good looking red wood there that our fruit's going to be growing on. It's a bit of a danger because we have a dog here and we don't want her to be eating this stone fruit, but we're going to be extra careful to make sure she doesn't get any. And look at the bore of the bottom of this tree at this point. I mean, this has gotten to be at least inch and a half around. I'm really impressed with this. I think that the mulch is probably helping out trap a little bit of moisture, and just generally speaking, this tree doesn't need too much help. It's had no problem clearing the fence line, and so here in about a couple of weeks, I'm probably going to put one of those owls right up here so it can stand guard when the sparrows and everybody else realizes what's grown here. Finally, in my backyard orchard, I have this little fig tree, and we had a really weird winter this year. So the first freeze of the year was actually a deep freeze that happened early January, maybe like January 2nd or 3rd. And then the last freeze of the year was in early March, and it was another deep freeze. And so this fig tree tried to put out some new growth, and it all got killed off in that March deep freeze. But now we're seeing a couple new branches come out, which is wonderful. This tree's gotten really beaten up, and I can see I've got an aphid problem going on here. I don't recall what these are. I think I've seen spider aphids or something like that online. If anybody has any recommendations for this, please let me know. In the past, I've heard people say that they will put soap and water in a squirt bottle and try to use that to scare off these pests. But I want to make sure these pull through. So please post your suggestions in the comments. Additionally, I had some really big pumpkins this last year, and I decided to plant a pumpkin patch. So I just let them sit out. We didn't carve them this year. They've been sitting around since Halloween, and I brought them out back sometime in January and just smashed them here in my backyard and covered them with some sand and dirt, and we've got a whole bunch of pumpkins sprouting up. So I've done pumpkins maybe once or twice, and they've done really great in a raised bed, but I think they'll do just fine in the sand and soil. And there's really a ton of them. You can see a bunch of these pumpkin seeds are picked through because I'll catch mourning doves back here every day, cracking open these seeds and eating them. But the ones that survived are looking pretty good. And it's too early to make a call as to where this is going, but I think the pumpkin patch is going to be something that's pretty neat. Hopefully we can put a good video together this fall talking about the pumpkin patch. But the thing that I'm most excited for in this garden tour is right here. So 4 years ago, my wife and I went to Maui for our anniversary trip. And we went to the Maui Gold Pineapple Plantation, where we saw a whole bunch of interesting things and learned about the anatomy of pineapples. And I brought home some pineapples and tried to regrow them in 5-gallon paint buckets. And at first I was using Home Depot buckets, but after about a year and a half, I transplanted to these whiskey barrels. And now look at this beauty. I've got 2 daughters, and this plant is older than both of them. This is a 4-year-old pineapple crown this spring, finally reproducing. I can see the base of the peduncle there where our pineapple is going to be growing off of, and I was really hoping this would grow this spring because I'm so tired of hauling these things in and out of my garage. It's become really tedious, and I am really excited. Probably going to make a couple of different videos on this one as the month rolls on, showcasing the different stages of growth because it moves quick. I'm thinking that in the next month or two, we're going to get a proper, head of fruit here. And so I will be showing that off. I have a few other control variable pineapples off here in this corner. And one is in a whiskey barrel that a lot of Bermuda grass invaded. All this Bermuda grass, I think, might be sapping the life out of this thing because it is not in the same condition. You look down in there, you don't see anything. It's just a pineapple crown. And so we're gonna do our best to keep these guys alive. My other control variable is there, the Home Depot bucket with the paint totally blown out by ultraviolet light from the sun. It's been sitting out here for 4 years now. Obviously goes into the garage in the winter time, but once again, it's kind of a little malnourished. And so I have some calcium carbide inside. I haven't had an opportunity to treat these, but I'll shoot a little video after I record this to add into the film. The way that it works is when it rains, which obviously it's going to be raining here in just a moment, the crown centers fill up with water. And when you water them, you're supposed to stick the hose just right in there. And so when they fill up with water, you put a little calcium carbide in there and it releases some gas that will help the pineapples go to fruit. So not really the most natural way, but I think it might be a good opportunity to get these guys over and done with, as I've really enjoyed making the pineapple videos, but honestly, it has been a labor of love and one that I might do again when my daughters get a little older to show them some neat things about growing pineapples, but the patience that it builds, I just question if it's worth it. If you're thinking about doing this, you might want to be in Florida, Hawaii, or some other tropical spot. Obviously, it's been really neat, but you know, not for the faint of heart. So, more videos to come on the pineapples. As for my raised bed, we're just doing some really basic and cool stuff this year. Got a little basil over here in this corner. This little rosemary plant used to be maybe like 10 inches tall, little tiny guy. See if I can find some old footage, but now it's 3 feet around, 2 feet tall, and I didn't even know that rosemary flowered. I found some little blue flowers on this, maybe more like violet flowers, a couple of weeks ago, and thought that was pretty neat. I also have this big blackberry bush that I've had to prune back quite a bit as some of the old branches have died, and it looks like it's going to come out. It's a thornless blackberry plant. Last spring it produced a good amount of blackberries, so excited about that. And here's some of the seeds, excuse me, that I'm going to be scattering here in a minute. I've got some romaine lettuce, some zinnias just because they're pretty, and just some Grand Rapids lettuce there for my seed kit. Mixed into all of this, I have some tomatoes that I got here over at Tractor Supply. Got some slicer tomatoes. These little tiny guys have a bunch of flowers on them, which I'm expected will be producing some fruit soon. They're very small, but that's okay. I'm thinking that we'll give them a little bit of time before we put a tomato cage on them. And finally, over in the corner, I've got this beefsteak tomato plant, which since the daytime temperature has been under 90, and in the evening it doesn't get too cool, maybe about 60 is the low. Got some great looking tomatoes getting started there. And then mixed throughout the bed, I've got a couple of ornamentals and a couple of different strawberry plants, but obviously it's still really early in the season. I've got my owls in the bed right now because I feel that they'd be better guardians over the tomatoes than anything else. It's the only real fruit out here right now, but I am thinking that this is going to be a really exciting season. Just want to make a quick video showcasing some of the things in my backyard right now, and as I mentioned, there'll be some dedicated videos to follow showcasing the peach tree growth and pineapple fruit as things move forward into the season. So thank you for joining me for this spring garden tour, and once again, thank you for watching Austin, Texas Gardening.